If I were to ask you which New Caledonian gecko makes the best pet, 9 times out of 10, people are going to say this right here, the Crested Gecko. But what if that wasn't the case? What if species like this Gargoyle Gecko right here actually do make a better pet than Crested Geckos? I wanted to find out just that. Which gecko makes the best pet? In order to figure this out, we're going to be going over the 5 big categories, that being care, handleability, the looks, the cost, and then the overall availability of the animal. Stick around while we go head to head and figure out which gecko makes the best pet, the Crested Gecko or the Gargoyle Gecko. Let's get into it. When it comes to the care of the Crested Gecko, it really can't get any easier. I mean, I always recommend these guys as a best beginner pet because the care of them is just that easy. Let's break down the husbandry real quick. We're going to have heating, which is room temperature, not really need for supplemental heating unless you live in a rather cold house. Humidity needs to be misted once or twice a day, then getting in that 80 to 60% roughly humidity. Diet is the pre-made Crested Gecko diet. While insects aren't necessary, I always love giving my Crested Gecko insects. And then just put them in a tank that is big enough as say like a 20 tall and you're kind of good to go. Again, a very easy Crested Gecko to take care of. For the day, I think the hardest thing has to be the misting. I mean, if we're like comparing this to like if you want a Crested Gecko or a pet rock and which one would be more difficult to take care of, the misting can be a little difficult if you're not like adept to husbandry and understanding how to create a humidity gradient and things of that nature. For the most part, it's kind of just like misting the cage every so often, like once or twice a day, again, depending on how dry or wet your house is. Wet. I'm just imagining someone like squishing their feet while they go against the carpet and they're like, no need to miss, we got that covered here. Honestly, that seems to be the most difficult part. Again, you just like get some powdered food and then you mix in wet water and you put it in, they slurp it up, it's good to go. You don't need to heat them, and you can get a 20 tall like kind of anywhere at this point. Pet stores, Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, if you want to go through that pain. I gotta give the Crested Gecko care a 5 out of 5 when it comes to ease of care. It is just, my God, is it easy? Alrighty, let's switch it up with the care of the Gargoyle Gecko. That's pretty much gonna be the same. There's really not much of a difference when it comes to the care of the Crested Gecko and the care of the Gargoyle Gecko. Really stems from the fact is that they're both from New Caledonia. I know I've seen care guides saying that like keep Gargoyle Geckos warmer, this and that. However, I keep most of my New Cal the same. The Chewies and Leechies are a little bit different, but Gargoyles and Cresties are literally kept exactly the same. I've had zero problem doing it this way. Yeah. I think the only really big difference between a Gargoyle and a Cressie is going to be Gargoyles do need a little bit of a higher protein, so they are going to want a little bit more bugs. However, I have found that my Crested Geckos also absolutely love bugs, so I feed both of them the same amount of bugs and they grow the same, super wide and super fast. Feed your gecko bugs. Same diet pretty much, other than that, insects. Then again, the Crested Gecko diet, just because it says Crested Gecko, it's meant for all the New Caledonian geckos, and they all and each very much appreciate it. At the end of the day, it's gonna be the same for me, same ratings for the Gargoyle and the Crested, because their care is so similar to each other. Alright, so we're pretty head-to-head when it comes to the ease of care of the animals. They're pretty much the same gecko, because they both come from New Caledonia. But let's move on, let's see if we can spread this one a little more apart. And that is gonna bring us to topic number 2, the handleability of the gecko. When it comes to the handleability of a Crested Gecko, again, it's gotta be one of the best pets to handle. I guess there's animals like, let's say, a leopard gecko or ball python that might be a little bit easier, and by that I mean they just don't move whatsoever. However, I think the Crested Gecko is really great. Most of the time you're gonna get animals like this that, well, you can see Cookie here, she just kind of hangs out on me and chills. Let's break down the full life cycle of it. Now, as babies, Crested Geckos can be very jumpy. I'm sure if you guys have seen in videos of mine in the past, you'll see that my Crested Geckos are jumping around when they're youngsters. Anywhere from a hatchling to say juvenile phase, these guys are pretty jumpy and they're pretty moving around. But when they do get to that subadult size and on, they seem to chill out a lot and seem to have a very nice calm demeanor like Cookie right here. I really don't have any problems when it comes to handleability as an adult. They seem very easy, very chill, laid back. I think the only caveat to that, or the only like one that can throw a wrench in that plan, is going to be my Lily Whites. I don't know why, man, but for some reason, any age of Lily White, I have a subadult red-based female that is super jumpy, I have an adult male, super jumpy, and now I have babies that are also super jumpy. It seems like whatever life cycle there is, the Lily Whites, in my personal experience right now, are just jumpy, sporadic little dudes. Not really the case 99% of the time, they're pretty much gonna be like this, but there are those little caveats where you could get kind of a spunky, nuts this gecko. Talk about the handleability of the Gargoyle Gecko. Now, when it comes to the handleability of the Gargoyle Gecko, I find it to be a little bit of a hit or a miss. Most of the time, I'm gonna have geckos like this that just wanna climb a little bit. They're not sketchy and jumping and running all over the place. Don't prove me wrong. Please do not start jumping. However, they definitely aren't as, like, I'm just gonna lay right here and not do anything as the Crested Gecko. The find with babies, it's kind of the same going through the full life cycle. Babies are going to be jumpy. I actually find that like hatchling gargoyle geckos are usually more calm than baby crested geckos. However, that seems to change with as they get a little bit older. I find that there's a bit difference where some of them will remain cool. However, some of them will stay sketchy. Why did you pee on me, bro? Every time, man. Now, what I will say when it comes to the handability is some of these geckos kind of get like really crazy. I've had gargoyle geckos that act like tokay geckos. They'll like squeak bark at me and they'll try to bite me and they're just going all over the place and it's not that great of a time. And I also have gargoyle geckos like this that are super chill, super handleable, and no issues. So with that all being said, I'm gonna deduct 1 point off for the gargoyle geckos just because the temperament, while seems to be kind of similar, there seems to be a big polar opposite where these guys can have a, Jesus Christ, my dude. In some cases, you can get a gargoyle gecko that is just not the most handleable thing. Real quick, boys and girls, before we move on with this video, I just want to give a huge shout out to today's sponsor. Well, that's me and the Patreon channel. Guys, being a social media guy is so hard. Making videos and editing them and having to post them and then getting money from that, it's so difficult, guys. Trust me, a 9 to 5, this is so much harder than your regular job. And with me being too privileged and lazy to actually get a real job, I need to count on people giving me money in order to keep doing the fun stuff that I do. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Realsies though, if you guys do want to support your boy, Patreon is a great way to do it. You guys get a bunch of behind the scenes stuff that I don't show off over here. That's going to be first look at the babies hatching, first look at availability. If you guys are looking for something special like some of my gecko mutations, Patreon's a great place to see it. We do some behind the scenes videos every now and then, and it's a really cool close-knit community of people that are really interested in supporting us over here at Dakota Blue Exotics. So hey, if you're feeling generous enough to kick your boy a couple bucks, I very much appreciate it. The link will be right down there in the description to learn more. We also do have a 1-week free trial going on right now. You can check that out down there as well. And if you can't give any money, that's okay. Times are tough right now. A like on this video is also very much appreciated. Enough of that, let's get back into the video. Alrighty, looks like Crested Geckos are 1 point ahead of the gargoyles. However, we still have a couple topics to go, so let's see if the gargoyles can catch up. That was gonna bring us to topic number 3, the looks of the gecko. Obviously, the appearance of an animal is subjective. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, so I'm gonna try to be as unbiased as I can when talking about the looks of the animal. However, I'm probably going to be very biased because of just who I am as a person. First up on the chopping block is going to be the Crested Gecko. Now, Crested Geckos come in a variety of different color mutations. These guys seem to be the biggest, or maybe second biggest. I think leopard geckos have a little bit more variation, but there is a lot of things you can do with the Crested Gecko. You want a chocolate gecko with polka dots, you can get that. You want a yellow one, orange one, black one with black polka dots, you can get that. We got tigers, pinstripes, extreme harlequins, lily whites, cappuccinos. What else do I have? We got full dorsals with pinstripes. We have empty back dorsals with no pinstripes. We've got quad stripe. The list goes on and on. Pretty much when we're thinking about Crested Geckos, you can really get whatever you want when it comes to the looks department. So that variety definitely does play a strong side in the Crested Gecko. However, I do also want to talk about just the physical look of the animal. Now, personally, for people like me that are more into like the bigger monitor lizards, but because they had to move suddenly and now they're in a much smaller space in their old facility, they can no longer house these large animals and are stuck caring for geckos for their entire life. When you're someone like that, the Crested Geckos look just, it doesn't do that much for me. Don't get me wrong, I absolutely love my Crested Geckos, and I love all the different ways colors I can produce them. But when it comes to the actual look of the animal itself, it's a little derpy. I always think of Crested Geckos as like the quirky man's reptile. It's not like, take a look at it. This is not a serious looking reptile. No one is going to see a Crested Gecko in the wild and be like, oh my god, watch out, it's a Crested Gecko. No, it's the cute, fluffy, in this case, very chunky animal that is adored by the masses. Appearance of the Gargoyle Gecko. Now, when it comes to the variety of different colors and shades you can get him on, these guys are definitely not going to be as cool as the Crested Geckos. Don't get me wrong, there is still a lot you can do. We can get stuff like this red-based red stripe. We've got yellow stripe stripes, orange stripes, quad stripes, blotches, reticulated. There is a good amount of difference, but definitely not on the scale that you'll find with crested geckos. This is stemming from the fact at this point in time, there is little to no genetic mutations. While we've got stuff like the empty back, lily white, cappuccino, and those combinations, xanthic, things of that nature for the cresteds, there doesn't seem to really be anything out there right now for gargoyle geckos. Not to say they don't exist, you just can't buy them right now. Definitely gonna have to lose some points on that fact. Now, let's talk about the overall look. Personally, for me, I really think gargoyle geckos look way cooler than crested geckos. I said it a little bit earlier. I think crested geckos are kind of like dorky and quirky, and they're little cute, soft little things. Where like this thing, man, this looks like a dinosaur. Gargoyle geckos look prehistoric. You got the horns popping up right there, this prehistoric reptilian face. The eyes look kind of creepy and intimidating. Overall, I think it looks like a dinosaur. I think when you're talking about reptiles, even if you use the word geckos, I think people are going to be like, crested geckos are cute and adorable and stuff, but people are going to be like, yeah, that looks like a reptile. All right, boys, I'm sorry for the interruption. I just want to talk a little bit real quick about the merch. If you're looking for a great way to support the channel while getting some absolutely badass merch, I mean, just check this out. We got Cresty in the front, Tokay in the back. Absolutely incredible. But hey, if crested geckos don't float your boat, which I mean, how can they not? But not to worry, we have a bunch of other incredible designs going from geckos, other geckos, well, more geckos. I think there's a chameleon one. If you guys want some more information, the band is right down there. It really helps me out. It helps me keep doing all the full-time stuff that I've been doing, living my dream. Thank you so much. I'm sorry, let's get back to the video. With that, I'm gonna have to give this point to the gargoyle gecko. I honestly think gargoyle geckos look way cooler than cresteds. This is just my unbiased opinion. I think everyone feels this way. No one thinks crested geckos look cool. Everyone thinks gargoyles look cool. Boys and girls, looks like we are tied again with the gargoyle gecko taking a point in that. And of course, your boy was completely unbiased in that explanation. What? No, of course I didn't accept the $20 bribe that the gargoyle gave me before starting this topic. No. We are all about being sanctioned and fair over here. But alright, let's see if the Crested Gecko can get this one and be ahead one more time. And that is going to bring us to topic number 4, the cost it costs to keep a crested gecko. When it comes to the cost of the crested gecko, it's diverse. You can get a crested gecko for as cheap as 15 to 20 bucks, or you can go as expensive as 28, 30, $40,000. There's also some numbers in there, but it seems the min to max is 25 bucks. $30,000. Has to do a lot with what we talked about a little bit earlier, the variety. Of course, these guys come in a variety of different colors, patterns, sizes apparently. You can get regular sized ones or super sized ones like Cookie. Not all geckos are priced the same, so if you are looking for more of a pretty gecko, let's say a lily white, a cappuccino, a frappuccino, super frap, sable, lily white hybrid, those animals are going to cost a little bit more than your standard, let's say, tiger dalmatian or just a regular harlequin. When it comes to the man looking for a budget animal that they can have and enjoy as just a pet, not really looking for investments or breeding or anything like that, the crested gecko is a very cheap animal to get. Again, it's that low price starting at around $25 if you find some more of a hobby breeder or anything like that. I'm sure you can get these for a very low price. This is a very big step for the crested gecko when it comes to the price. I don't think you're going to find a better budget-friendly animal if you're looking for a pet. That's going to put them at a 5 out of 5 on that scale. I really can't think of another animal. Maybe a leopard gecko would be slightly cheaper, but I'm pretty sure they're pretty comparatively speaking. Market for gargoyle geckos. Let's get into it. Now, again, this is not going to be as good as the crested geckos. If you are a man on a budget looking for the cheapest new cow you can get, crested geckos are going to be it. While gargoyle geckos have definitely come down in price since they were. It seems they were in a bit of a bubble for a little bit, and like gargoyle prices were absolutely insane, off the chain, off the wahizzle. My nizzle. Ugh. But just because the market drops does not mean that they are cheap. I think the cheapest ones you can probably find are like maybe 75, 80 bucks. That's going to be a very low quality and not a very pretty gargoyle. If you're looking for a gargoyle that at least has some looks, not saying top tier red base red stripe, but something that has some nice stripes and just some cool coloration to it, you're going to look around the price of $100 to $150. You can definitely go up while these guys don't have the genetic mutations to get those ridiculous $30,000 prices. You can still expect to see gargoyle geckos for at least a couple grand. Just that's more based off not the genetic mutations themselves, but the phenotype, the line breeding, the time it takes to generationally breed this animal for a specific look and perfect that look with each generation. So while gargoyle geckos really aren't the most expensive gecko when it comes to all the new cal, they definitely are a little bit more pricey than the crested gecko, so unfortunately they're gonna have to lose this round. And alrighty, boys and girls, getting down to the last topic, which one is going to be the reigning champion of this debate? Will it be the crested gecko or the gargoyle gecko? Well, we've got one more thing to talk about before we get into that, and that is going to bring us to the final topic, topic number 5, the availability of the animal. If you guys have been following your boy for any amount of time, you will know that I'm constantly griping about this and complaining about it, and that's going to be the fact that there is, in my opinion, there might be a little too much availability. The crested gecko market is absolutely saturated with breeders. A quick search on Morph Market will show you that there are approximately 4,663 crested geckos available to purchase on that site. Those are actually from me. Make sure to peep down the link down there below and check out some of my geckos for sale. You can find these guys literally anywhere. You're going to a show, you're going online, you're going to a reptile pet store. If you're even going to your Petco and PetSmart, one thing is for sure, they will always have crested geckos available for you. And I think these guys have the best availability. I think ball pythons are probably bigger. They're probably in the tens of thousands for God knows what reason. Crested geckos are also up there in a very big place, which is again going to give them a 5 out of 5 rating for availability. All right, getting down to it, the availability of the gargoyle gecko. Let's see how this round goes for them. Unfortunately, it's not going to go that well. Gargoyle geckos definitely do not have the availability that crested geckos have. I believe we stated some ridiculous number like 4,000 or something like that, whereas the gargoyle gecko, less than 1,000. Right now on Morph Market, you can find around 833 gargoyle ads. One of those happen to be from me. Again, link down there if you want to buy a gargoyle. I got one available right now, many more coming soon. So I think this stems for a couple of reasons. Number one, they don't have what we talked about a little earlier, that variety in appearance. There's not a bunch of different stuff you can do. There's very set things that you can kind of perfect on, and that's kind of it. So are not as prolific, not as prolific as your crested gecko. While crested geckos give me an average of 10 to 14 eggs, gargoyle geckos usually tap out at around 6 to 8 personally for me. Could get better clutches than that. I'm just stating what I do personally over here. But with less clutches, not as big a variety, there just isn't that much of a demand for the gargoyle right now. The people that are breeding gargoyles right now, I think they are truly in it for the species of the animal and just, again, getting that phenotype as cool as they can get. Getting the boldest of red stripes, the most stripes, getting a 6-striped animal, getting the most red animal, the most yellow animal, it goes on and all. But one thing's for sure, the people that breed gargoyles definitely love them. At this point, doesn't go for the people that are breeding have the passion for it. This is about the availability, and unfortunately, once again, the gargoyle is gonna lose this round. And alrighty folks, let's see which gecko took the gold in this debate. Is it gonna be the crested gecko or the gargoyle gecko? Put your answers down below before we give the answer away. Boys and girls, as much as I was bribed and really biased in my experiment, the facts speak for themselves. I guess at the end of the day, the crested geckos are slightly a better pet than the gargoyles. Personally for me, I think the gargoyles are a cooler pet. I think they're a lot more unique. Again, when we go in that saturation of the market for cresteds, a lot of people are gonna have, everyone's gonna have cresteds, we're talking about it. But if we're talking about just a little more expensive, a little more less handleable, and a little bit extra care for it, you can get a much more unique animal that your friends are gonna think is a lot cooler than a crested gecko, and that is all I need in my book. Don't worry, just slide me another 20. We'll get this fixed. We'll put you on top. Boys and girls, there you have it. Which one do you think should have been the winner? Do you think the gargoyle should have been on top, or you think we were right in saying the crested gecko? Also, I'm gonna need your guys' help. Which one do you guys want to see the next debate? We have a variety of different gecko species. I'm thinking about the next one to be Chihui versus Lychee, but let's see what you guys say in the comment. If that wasn't enough crested gecko content for you guys, we have an entire playlist right here dedicated to our crested geckos with like 40 videos, or maybe you want to take a tour of every single one of my crested geckos. There's like over 50 here, and we go through all of them in this video. Boys and girls, if you made it this far, a like and subscribe goes a long way in helping out the channel. Thank you guys so much for taking the time in your day to follow us over here at Dakota Blue Exotics. I will see you guys next time, but until then, goodbye.